Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Planet Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. Truly delighted to have you join me each week, and once a week we talk about various issues dealing with pain. My guest today will be talking about her own journey through spirituality and how she's utilized that to find her own joy. She's utilized the Kabbalah method. It took her many, many years to find her own path and what made her happy. But this method has made her happy, and she's using this method to help others who are looking for who they truly are, how can they find their joy and believe in what they do. Our conversation is with Batya Solomon. She's a teacher, writer, motivator, speaker at the Kabbalah Center. She's had over 30 years of experience studying the ancient universal wisdom of Kabbalah. She describes herself as a student first. She's also a vibrant and charismatic teacher and storyteller. Whereas a Kabbalah Center instructor, she shares her particular passion for spiritual self-empowerment, inspiring others to value themselves on a spiritual path of increasing abundance and happiness. We'll be talking about her childhood, journeys along the way that led her on this path. We're also going to, she was badly affected by COVID. But what lessons did she learn from all the impacts and the sufferings, and especially things that are currently going on in the world? What lessons can we all learn from it? And how can we together find our joy from all this going on right now? Meet my amazing guest, Batya, as she shares her story and also inspires us to find a journey of spirituality, to find our own joy. Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Planet Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Are you looking on that spiritual journey, trying to find who you are, how to find your light at the end of this tunnel? So much things have happened in the world with the pandemic. So many people have tried to rediscover who they truly are. My guest today, Batya Solomon, will be telling us about her own journey, what led her on this spiritual path to the Kabbalah. What does it truly mean? And how would this method help you in finding your joy? I can't wait to speak to you. I'm really excited. I've been really excited to talk to you. You know, when people ask, what would this conversation be about? I said, you're a teacher, you're a writer, you're a motivation speaker. And when you talk about these things, you also base it on your own experience. So I'm so happy to be here to have this conversation with you, Batya. Before we get started, can you tell me a little bit about who are you? And thank you so much for joining me. Who are you?
Who am I? What a big question. We could just do a whole session just on that. Well, let's say I'm an immortal soul. I'm a spark of the creator. I'm on a journey, as I am with my other fellow souls, who are all sparks in this, or like drops in the ocean of light. And we're all here in our costumes. I'm in my costume, you're in your costume, and we're all playing our parts as we learn to evolve to be creators of our life. That's primary. I'm also a teacher, I'm a mom, I'm as all the things you said and so much more, and yet to be discovered about who I am.
Oh, it's amazing. I love that, because when I ask people that question, it's the same response I always get. Who am I? But you answered just so simply and nice, which is really beautiful. When you look back at your life as a child growing up, because I was trying to put the puzzle together, what led you on this beautiful path where you are today? What was your background like as a child growing up?
I actually had a pretty unhappy childhood. My parents were Holocaust survivors. So that's a whole nother session, that's a whole nother episode. I don't want to go there. And so I grew up with two people who had PTSD. We just didn't have a name for it then, but you know, they were pretty off the wall in a lot of different ways. And so my childhood was pretty painful. And I really had a pretty terrible relationship with my father.
Yeah.
And he died when I was a teenager. He was just a very, very unhappy man, you know, and he, because you don't get over trauma like that, you know. I think we have yet to in our today's society, we really just do not appreciate the horrors and the trauma of violence. You know, we're so desensitized to it, unfortunately. Thank you, Hollywood. So that, you know, we sometimes people just we even normalize it, you know. It's really a shame. But anyway, so so my father was a violent man. Not that he meant to be, it's just he didn't have any other outlet. So I was always afraid of him growing up. When I became a teenager, and as all teenagers, that's another episode, just FYI. No, as teenagers are rebellious in nature. There's a reason spiritually why that is. I don't want to get into it right now, but the middle of my rebellion, my father decided, you know, just dropped dead in front of me and I had a heart attack. So that added to my traumatized life as it was. And then that set me truly, I can really mark the beginning, I believe, of my spiritual journey, because after that, I became, I don't know, I'd say fascinated, curious. I needed answers. What is life about? I just don't get it. What is death? I mean, what happens after death? Where does the soul go? Why are we even here? Why are we living? Life just didn't really add up in so many ways. And so that set me on a quest to find out the meaning of life at the tender age of 16.
Yeah, because you've been active at the Kabbalah Center since 1990, and you've been applying this master degree in education across the spectrum of learning. Before we get into what exactly you do, how did you come across it and begin your spiritual journey? Because I believe the Kabbalah has a lot of things to do with the spiritual. Where did that come from?
Well, as I said, I started my spiritual quest. And so I am a searcher. You know, I just went and tried different paths, different, you know, listening to different speakers, trying different religions and different spiritual, the way other cultures and other religions, you know, what answers do they have for me? Yeah. You know, whether it's, you know, I don't want to name different. I mean, I was searching, and there's nothing that they're, you know, they weren't my path. I was searching, I got some answers, but they didn't satisfy me, and it didn't feel like a fit for me. I didn't feel like, aha, I'm here. This makes sense. Not until I arrived. And by the way, in all the studies and all the different adventures I went on, and all the different things I tried, that all roads eventually led to Kabbalah. If you track any spirituality down, you know, really, really on an earnest quest, you'll find that all roads eventually lead to Kabbalah, because Kabbalah is not a religion. It's the map of creation. The religion of Judaism is what mostly feeds off of the map of creation, most closely to the spiritual energy system that we're all subjected to. But due to the corruption of religion, all religions, we're all now given this false sense of, I have to choose a box. I'm Jewish, I'm Hindu, I'm Buddhist, I'm Christian, or whatever. And then, you know, one thing all religions have in common is that, well, we'll have to force you to believe like we do, or we'll have to kill you. And that's a historical fact, right? Yeah. So people are always killing each other. More blood has been shed in the name of God than, you know, it's ironically, than any other reason. But Kabbalah doesn't really, even though people try to fit it into a box called Jewish mysticism, it is so beyond that. All roads eventually lead to, it's the, if I can even say it like this, the science of spirituality. The science of spirituality, the world, the understanding, the spiritual laws of cause and effect.
You credit the Kabbalah as taught by the Kabbalah Center for transforming your life.
Yes, absolutely.
You really give it credit any interview you give. How did this teaching help you? what is different? I know you've explained it
I-
slightly, but
I'm different. Well, I used to be very frightened and very angry.
yeah,
And I understood, and there's three parts of a transformation. There's mental, there's emotional, and then there's physical.
Mm.
You really can't have one without the other. They all lead to, the seed of all of that is a spiritual transformation. There's a bigger picture. When we are taught that what we see and experience with our five senses is all that is, that's a very frightening way. It's a very frightening paradigm.
Yeah.
Just look around you, what's happening today. People are being bombarded. We're all bombarded to give all our power and energy to the illusion of this physical paradigm of lack and violence, and and it's not enough, and we have to kill each other for it, or we have to do all these horrible things, that there's not enough of whatever: food, water, supplies, money, love, etc. It's not true. But you can't explain that to someone who's very steeped inside that. A person eventually has to, the only way you can break out of that paradigm is if we suffer so much and realize, that's it, I'm done. I am done. I don't even know which way to turn. So I'm going to turn within. I'm looking up, but it's really within. There must be something more to this life. I mean, it happened to me at a younger age. And so when I got to Kabbalah, it just blew me away. I just felt like, wow, it has answers to questions I haven't even thought to ask yet. And so for me, I'm from New York originally.
Yes.
And if you know anything about New Yorkers, we're usually very cynical people.
I know.
By
Yeah.
nature, we're not like the South, we're like, we'll host you, come into the house, we'll feed you, and then we'll ask. No, it's like, who are you? What do you want? That kind of thing. So I didn't trust no one and nothing. So when I came into the center, the love I felt was incredible. The energy was so high, like it's an incredibly high vibration of energy that you can't help but not be affected by it.
Wow.
So that was my experience. That continues to be my experience. I've been around the center almost 32 years now, and I still feel like I know this much I know grains of wisdom on the beach of wisdom. You know what I mean? It's like, I know
there's still so much.
There's so much. And if
Yeah.
anyone thinks that whatever they're endeavoring in, if they've mastered it, then they think they lost the big picture, because we live in a world of infinite supply.
And we use that.
Yeah, infinite supply of knowledge, infinite supply of love, infinite supply of everything.
Yeah.
But what I learned in Kabbalah is the power of intention, the power of the mind, but not the kind of power of mind intention that you would normally assume it to be, because it's usually linked to what we can see, taste, feel, weigh, and measure. No, it's connecting to something of the unseen. So we learn in Kabbalah that our experience in these virtual reality suits we're wearing, limits our perception of things. So if there's this spectrum, let's say spectrum of color, just to make it simple, right? There's like an infinite spectrum of color, but we are all walking around with these what do you call those? These blinders. There's blinders. So we experience, let's say, 1% of color, of the colors, and many times, and just to prove my point, I've heard people's near-death experiences. I've had my own. And I've heard other people's, and they say, they've been in dimensions where the colors were incredible. They've seen colors they'd never seen before. So there's sounds. Another simple explanation, a simple example: sound, right? You can blow a dog whistle. A dog will hear the sound, but we won't hear the sound, right? So there's a spectrum of sound. There's a spectrum of vibration. There's a spectrum of possibilities. But if we are only thinking and giving our power only to these small smidgen called our five senses and think that's reality, then that's why people walk around feeling sad and lonely and unhappy and unfulfilled, because somewhere deep inside us, we know, wait, there's way more than this. Why is there just so little? So Kabbalah helps me every day to unlock more and more of my potential by using metaphysical tools and metaphysical understandings, you might say, that are universal. They really are universal. And it's all based on what's called the wisdom of the Zohar, the teachings of the Zohar.
So, while you're talking about the teachings of the Zohar, could you also add into this, what is Kabbalah? Because I think a lot of our guests will be wondering.
Okay, so Kabbalah,
what is it?
Kabbalah, very simple, is the compendium, you might say, of the laws of the universe, the laws of life. Okay. Life is a system. Everything is a system. There are universal laws that no matter what your color is, no matter what you believe, no matter what your language is, no matter who you voted for, we're all subjected to the same spiritual laws. It doesn't matter how much money you have or you don't have. We're all subjected to the same spiritual laws. Take something simple like the law of gravity. No matter who you pray to, if you took a Muslim and a Jew and a Christian and they jumped off the Empire State Building, they're all going to hit the ground because that would be a violation, of the law of gravity, right? Yeah. So there are metaphysical laws that we live by and we violate, and we don't understand why. I'm such a good person. Why do these terrible things happen? It's not personal. Electricity is not personal. There's a law about electricity, right? If you want to benefit in your relationship with electricity, it must be concealed in wiring, and there must be an intermediary, a plug, and you plug the wire into the wall where there's a vehicle, a vessel for that electricity to flow. But if I took my finger and I stuck it in the socket, no matter how nice I am and how good and pure I am and how many people I help today, if I stick my finger in that light socket, I'm going to get electrocuted. Absolutely. Now, electricity didn't punish me. It was I who violated the law of electricity. And this is why people get bitter, and there is no God, or God's a punishing God, and God's a vengeful God, and no, it's not from the Kabbalistic understanding. Kabbalah means, by the way, it's Hebrew word. It means to receive. Oh, wow. Kabbalah means to receive. What do you want? What do you want? Is it tune in with your own intuition and beliefs of what are you looking for and how do you receive it? Is that something along that line? Something like that. But I ask your audience, what do you want? What do you stop and ask yourself? Are you running around like a robot all day long, just like working and cooking for the kids and what? And I want this and what do you actually really want? What does everybody want? Yes. Now, some people say, well, I can have time or I can have money. I can make money or I can enjoy what I love to do. I can have this or I can have that. That's not true. That's a false belief. We're meant to have everything, everything. And Kabbalah is the system by which we can attain everything that is really important to us, that we really want. And we're taught how to achieve what we want. We're taught the laws of life. And it's for everyone. So if someone, unfortunately, I run into people and they say, well, I can't study Kabbalah because, I can't betray Jesus. Well, I have news for you. Jesus was a Kabbalist himself. He taught many of the same principles because he lived in the time when the Kabbalists, were writing the Zohar. I don't want to get into that whole history of that, but, anything you pray to that causes division can't be good. And I'm nothing against Jesus or anyone. It's the interpreters of these teachings. If the interpreter corrupts the teachings because it's self-serving, that's, really where we get ourselves into hot water here. Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned for me as a teacher, right? I'm a student first, by the way. and I'll always be a student first.
I like that.
Um, I I would never go and learn from a teacher who didn't walk their talk. So, there's one sign for you, wherever you are, whoever's listening to this, and whoever's your mentor, look for someone who walks the talk, or who strives to walk the talk, because we're not perfect. Nobody is. Everyone has their own soul's individual education plan. In the education system, there's something called an IEP, individual education plan for kids. They usually do it for certain children that can't seem to fall in line with the rest of the system, let's say. So they come up with this. But the truth is, we're all on our own soul's individual education plan. So what I came in this incarnation to learn might be the opposite of what's true for you. That's why when it comes to a spiritual system, you can't have too many of these hard and fast rules, because it's all in relation to where you are in your incarnation process. For example, if you have two people, and usually they're relatives, or they're somehow pushed together in some sort of relationship in this life, right? And there'll be two souls who will be working out their karma, you might want to call it. We call it tikkun in Hebrew. Their individual education plan, and they made a contract before they incarnated and said, okay, we're going to help each other. So let's say there's something like learning about power. So one person soul incarnates into a theater where they're playing the role of someone who must stand up for themselves, wants to stand up for themselves, and earn and own their power.
Yeah.
But the only way they can do that is to be paired up with someone who's a bully and who doesn't have humility around power, right? So these two people will be paired up together, and they'll both complain about each other if they're not spiritual, if they don't look within, if they don't ask themselves, why am I in this movie? Which is the things we learn in the Kabbalah Center, in Kabbalah, in the basic course. There's many courses, many classes, so many. And so they're actually working out their karma together. Unfortunately, not enough people know Kabbalah, so they could now make this into a very ugly situation where this woman is getting battered, let's say, or this man is getting battered, by the way, right? So there's this imbalance of power, but both souls came to own their part of it. So her job is to stand up to him and say no. And that when she does that for herself, she's actually sharing with him. And his job is to learn how to respect and how to hone and respect boundaries, let's say, or vice versa. You understand how this is working? It's a beautiful system that is always seeking balance. In Kabbalah, in fact, kabbalistically, we live in one giant mathematical universe. It's all math. It's really goes very deep, very fast, and it's mind-boggling on so many levels.
No, honestly, it's really fascinating. I think even at the beginner level, listening to you, I could see where the connection, where that ties in, and where there's lots of learning about what this universe truly means. Who are we on this planet? Because you've made
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, I said you've devoted yourself to the Kabbalah teaching, sharing your wisdom with the world. When you started this, why did you decide to now go on this path of now sharing that wisdom you've learned with the rest of the world?
I'll tell you, as I said, I started off on many paths. And I was like Siddhartha in the book by Albert Camus. He was like always going on these different paths till he found his path. For me, I was all on these different paths and I didn't find them satisfying. And the last one was money. Maybe if I make enough money, then I'll be happy. That's what they tell me in this culture, right? Isn't that what they tell us? If you make enough money, you're living the American dream, right? So I used to think that being spiritual meant being poor. And so I was always, without money. And then I decided, that's it. I'm going to dedicate my life to making money, and that will make me happy. Well, it took me, I said to myself, this is 30 something years ago. I said, you know what, if I could make $100,000 a year, that should make me happy. Because in those days, $100,000 actually was a lot, right? Probably like $500,000 now. But anyway, so I set out, this is before the center, I'm a manifestation coach, I know a lot about manifestation. It took me 3 years. And I got into a movie where I made $100,000 a year. And what happened is I got very depressed because I thought money was going to make me happy. And it was the last stop. After I realized it's all an illusion, I was just as unhappy. Well, now I have more money in my pocket, it's true, but internally my battery was dead. I felt I was dying inside because there was, okay, I'll make 200. My next goal was 250, and the next goal would be 500, and the next goal would be, a million. But deep down inside, I was still empty. I was trying to fill an emptiness with something that satisfied me for like 5 minutes. And this is a definition of hell, by the way, constantly trying to satisfy ourselves with food, with money, with drugs, with sex, with shopping, with gossip, with whatever it is, feeling satisfied for like 5 minutes or less, and then going back and feeling empty again. And that's when I really got depressed. I felt lost. I said, what now? I didn't even know. And that was actually around the time that I was walking down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. I saw a table and there was a big sign that said Kabbalah. And I'm going, oh my God, look at that, Kabbalah. I remember all my other studies and everything. There was always something about Kabbalah. I got to go check that out. Yeah. And so I did, and my life just took a whole different turn. I mean, I really shifted into a different timeline right there.
Then honestly, you really did shift, because you've really inspired so many. You started off with the building schools for little kids, helping them to teach them this wisdom. How would you describe that journey of helping, once you found your path, found your way in the Kabbalah Center? How did this fuel you up?
The only thing that fills anybody up is sharing. Being dedicated to a higher purpose. How many pairs of shoes can you wear at one time? How much can we just keep grabbing for ourselves? It's the illusion is that if I keep taking, it's going to fill me up, but it never does. The law is the more I share, the more unfulfilled I am. So I dedicate my life to sharing. My role as a teacher in the Kabbalah Center is not a 9-to-5 role. It's a calling. I'm on call 24/7. That's my, it's my, because I love it. It's so fulfilling. I'm a mom of 4 grown children. They're even though I have a master's degree before the center, I did other things. Like I was a teacher in the elementary school, nursery school teacher. I was a Montessori teacher. I have a master's degree in education. That's why, I started, I was a little bit at the seed level over there of building the Kabbalah Children's Academy at the time, and ran it. But I say my greatest achievement is that I have 4 adult children that actually like spending time with me. So I consider that my greatest achievement. One time my family went on a cruise. It was a very funny story. And by day 3, a waiter comes up to me, and there's 2,000 people on the cruise. And it's my family, we're all together, and we're having a meal, and we're doing what we always do. We're just, chatting and teasing and whatever, nothing, no deep discussion, no mushy stuff, nothing. We're just being together. And then at the end of the meal, everybody got up and everybody went somewhere else. And I just wanted my me time. I sat there with my cup of tea. I had my dessert in my, we're really savoring the moment. And the waiter comes up to me and he said to me, when I have a family one day, he goes, I want a family just like yours. And I look around and I go, mine? Look, there's like 2,000 people here. The place was filled with families. And I said, why would,
why mine?
Why me? I mean, why our family? Look at that family, that family, that family. And he said, there's something about your family. He said, the energy was incredible. He said, I've been doing this for many, many years, and I very rare find a family like yours. He goes, and I want family like you have. And at the time, this was a few years ago, and I said, it took us 25 years to build this. It's not something that you can just get out of a box. It's 25 years of investing.
Yes.
So whatever, this is really what we build in this world. What do we put our time into? What do we put our love into? What do we put our attention into? This is what we build.
Yes.
And if it's based on sharing, if it's based on how can I be a contribution to other people?
Yes.
What can I do to add value to other people's life? That's a winning formula.
A lot of us don't think about it. I think I love what you just said. It's all about we take, and we want to feel satisfied. We think like the more we get, the more we have, the more satisfied we are going to be, but not necessarily the case. What are some everyday teachings would you pass on when you pass on your message that an individual can do to empower themselves and help them get that fulfilled life?
First of all, we give a class, it's called Kabbalah 1. It's go to Kabbalah.com and go check out the articles, go check out the classes there. Kabbalah 1 is just a game changer for anybody's life. Of course, most people go on to the, more advanced classes, 2, 3, 4. But Kabbalah 1 tells you everything you need to know about life. And the first thing that I would say to someone is pay attention in as much as possible throughout the day. Are you living internally or externally? Are you being reactive to your environment, to your phone, to your calendar, to a comment? Is it sending your mind now into some sort of fantasy horror movie of fear or lack or, oh God, they didn't text me back. That means they don't love me. I didn't get the phone call. I didn't get the job. I didn't get the raise. I got fired. What meaning do you ascribe to events in your life? Now, I'm going to just give you one thing that really can shift things for you. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself in any event that's going on in this moment, what meaning do I ascribe to this? Well, if he comes home and he smiles, it means I'm okay. If he comes home and he's in a bad mood, that means I'm not okay. Yes. Who said? You just created that. Who said? So it's Kabbalah for me. The reason I love it so much, the reason why after 32 years, it still excites me more and more and more is because I am empowered. I'm empowered. I am the cause of my life. Until then, everyone else was the cause of my problems. I am the cause. If I am the cause, if I have, and we support, that's what we have teachers and we have mentors and we have people helping. It's a community. It's so beautiful. You can't do this work on your own. You just can't because we don't see our own blind spots. So by having someone who can, who's been down the road a little bit more than me, let's say, right? Who's not better than me, but somebody who just is more knowledgeable of the laws of spiritual laws, or we're very sharp and able to see, oh, you know what, you're really not being honest with yourself here. Or did you know this about, did you know what I noticed? Whatever it is, it helps or passing down a teaching. For example, here's one, just be quiet. How much of your day can you just be quiet and pay attention to your thoughts and notice that there is, and we devote many classes to this, there is a force in this world we call it the opponent force, an agitating force that is there to agitate us, and it's doing a fantastic job. Look around the world and look how many people are agitated. Yes. But that force is really there to serve us. Right now, it's ruling over most people because they don't know that they're meant to be in charge. And then, that you learn how to tame that force so that it serves you, not that it rules over you.
I like that.
In Kabbalah, by the way, in Kabbalah, there's no good and bad. In religion, there's good and bad. That's one of the things I don't like about religion. In religion, something happened. Somebody died, somebody ate the wrong fruit, something happened, and I'm bad and I have to pay for it. In Kabbalah, there's no such thing. We are all one. We are all the cause. And there's no such thing as good and bad. There's only cause and effect. So it's, for me, I like it because it's very bottom line practical. You
Yeah.
don't murder anyone. Why? Because that makes you a bad person? No, it's not really good for you. It's not good for them.
Also,
Yeah. Don't steal. Why can't I steal? I see stealing going on. It's a big thing these days, right? People just breaking into stores and they're stealing. You know, why? Because it's a bad thing to do? No, because the person who's stealing is actually creating so much negativity for themselves that whatever they stole, they have to pay back twice what they, spiritual law, by the way, you got to pay back twice what you took when you steal something. So we steal energy all the time. We just don't understand when something happens, there's no accidents. The person who's stolen from and the person who stole, they've got a karma together. They've got a tikkun together. But when you live in a circular reality where it is no point of me to slap you in the face, because when I slap you, I feel the pain. Would anybody slap someone in the face?
no.
No. It's only because feel so disconnected. I feel justified to slap someone in the face. Don't realize that I am now put myself on the schedule to be slapped twice. God forbid. In some way, not today, not tomorrow, not the next day, but it could come in another lifetime or in 50 years, but somehow that payback is coming. But if you know that, then who would bother? And that's really what kind, imagine the world is like, there's no point in stealing because whatever I steal, it's going to twice it'll be stolen from me. So would anybody really steal if they understood that?
Yeah.
No. So as many people learn Kabbalah and more people elevate their consciousness around life, the faster we will shift this planet to be one that was meant to be truly a Garden of Eden for all of us. Not just my kind, not just those of us believers and the hell with everyone else. No, that doesn't make any sense. All of us, we're all in this together. In Kabbalah, in every religion, there's us and them. I don't care what religion it is. There's us and there's them. And that brings chaos and destruction. In Kabbalah, there's only us. There is no them. No matter, even if we don't agree on things, we're still us. Even if we don't look the same, we're still us. Even if we don't live in the same place, we're still us. Because we're all extensions of our one soul. That's who we are. That's what we are. So there's no point. That's why I love Kabbalah. It's not about, oh, I'm altruistic. Oh, you work so hard. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for me because it gives me pleasure.
It's truly phenomenal. I really can see why you love it so much and why you're so passionate about it. Because that us, we're in it together. That's such a powerful word. We don't use that often. When we say it's you, I, me against you, and that's what's causing all the trouble, all the hate going on in the world today. In your travel, because you've traveled quite extensively, when you look at human beings and individuals, anyone, what would you say we're genuinely human beings are truly searching for in their lives?
Everyone is searching for the same thing, love. We all want love.
Yeah.
That's very simple. Everyone who's hurting, who's angry, who's depressed, who's on something, we all want love. We all want love, and we can all have love. We can all have love. And the way we have love is when we act like what the Kabbalah's definition of the creator force is, which is love. It is an energy force that is constantly imparting goodness, imparting love, all forms of love. There's many, many, like the spectrum we talked about before. Love also is on a spectrum. Just a small act of kindness activates the creator force within you. A small act of kindness. I'll give you an example. So I moved into a new place, new building, and it was a very kind of cold feeling. Anyway, I ended up on the board of my building, and I made a group chat, and I put everybody in the building on the group chat. And suddenly the things that we couldn't get done started to get done in the building, and I said, one of the people commented, wow, we could never get all the things fixed we needed in the buildings. I said, because I believe, I have total certainty, it's because we became more unified, that the energy of our unification just in the building is causing this physical effect to show up. And one of the persons told me, he goes, I have to tell you, I was thinking of leaving the building because I just felt like, there's too many problems here. But since you moved in, he goes, it's really changed the energy. And it's not about me, it's about the laws, it's Kabbalah. I mean, this is something you can do in your building. This is something you can do in your neighborhood. This is something you can do in your school. Open your mouth, say something. Be an act of kindness, do an act of kindness, even just on that simple. Unfortunately, people leave it there. Why do an act of kindness? The depth of that is where Kabbalah really turns me on, because you don't need to listen to me when I'm talking about kindness, because everybody knows about kindness. But there's like that thought or that discussion of kindness on this level is like eating candy. Oh wow, that's she's so right. It's I'll be kind today. Tomorrow, someone will give me a dirty look, and then kindness will go out the window. Because why? There's no depth to that concept. What I love about Kabbalah is that it brings you to the depth, the seed. Where does that concept come from? It's the depth, it's part. I want to find it on the map of creation. That grounds me, and that because it's so deep. It's not this la-di-da candy talk. Oh yes, let's all be kind to each other, and then nothing really happens. It's like, it lasts for 5 seconds and then it's gone. No, it's really this internal work, constant internal work to evolve to higher and higher states of love.
I love that. Yeah. I especially the example about your building. That was so, that's such a transformation. And we all need that. We need that one person. And that's, if we can unify our voices, and something we don't really think about quite often is how do we unify? How do we utilize love? And the answer to that, what we all need, love, is really fascinating, because it is true. We all need that one way or the other.
We all need, it's really what we came to this world to emanate. So Zohar, the word Zohar means radiance, emanation. It's the book of radiance. What are we radiating? Is love. And now some of us, many unfortunately people, have what's called stones in our heart. It's so much going on in our hearts. We're so stuck. We can't forgive. We hold on to things. We hurt at ourselves. We don't love ourselves. And, in Kabbalah, the highest form of love is to love your neighbor as yourself. I'm sure you've heard that term before. Now, here's the problem. The problem is we do love our neighbors as ourselves. We don't love ourselves, therefore we don't love our neighbors.
No. Yeah.
And it takes sometimes it just takes a kindness. Like when I first moved into the building, nobody said hello to each other. People walk in, stranger, like now it's like, oh, hi, how are you? Or this, it's the AT&T guy. He wanted to come into apartment 301. He pressed my buzzer. I said, why aren't you calling 301? Why my buzzer? And he said, oh, they're not answering. Well, I'm not letting you in. And I said, wait, hold on there. And now I have the number of the person in apartment 301. And I couldn't reach. They weren't answering the phone. The phone broke, right? So I went upstairs to their apartment, knocked on their door. I said, hey, there's an AT&T guy here. And like how many people would do that? I'm not, again, it's not about me. Please don't take this as like, oh, I'm a saint. I'm no saint. It's the first of all, I would want someone to do that for me. That's number one. Number two, I'm thinking about the safety of the building. And so I put on the chat, hey, if anybody in the future, I said, I didn't let the guy in and he went away. You're going to have to make another appointment. I'm so sorry, but I'm thinking of all of us. I'm not going to let some stranger in to the building. And one of the people on the chat who never contributes said, thank you very much. You did the right thing. Not that I needed her, but it was nice to see they're like warming up to each other. They're warming up. People are warming up. And wouldn't it be great if you walked into a neighborhood and everybody was warm and everybody looked after each other's kids and said to that kid, hey, put down the rock. You know what I'm saying? if
it's
more of us would do that,
Mm.
in the Kabbalah community, by the way, I remember somebody giving us a beautiful compliment. It was at an event, and there were a lot of women with kids there. And someone said to me, I can't tell which ones are the mothers, because, the children felt so comfortable. I mean, it's a closed environment, right? So there's other people in the community, but you know how stressful it is to raise a child by yourself? You know how stressful to raise a child in a nuclear family? We're not meant to raise children that way. That's why we have so many problems. We're meant to raise children in a village. It takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
And that's a much healthier way to grow up. My children were raised in a village. I wish I was raised in a village, but I wasn't. I was raised in a nuclear family with two people who had PTSD. And I'm not blaming them anymore, because I picked that movie.
Yes.
But I want the world to be raised our children, our future, to be raised that way. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, we all would. Absolutely. My children, I raise my children in community as well, because I just feel the more everyone else is involved in their participation of their upbringing, it just brings them so much love. They just don't see mommy and daddy the whole time. They see a whole nuclear of people, and it makes them so happy. It just brings love to them. You've created a very successful seminar titled Prosperity Principle. I like principles. For what is this, and what are the behaviors that underpin achieving prosperity, especially in today's world, and how can we manifest that ourselves?
Well, first of all, so Prosperity Principles is an ongoing series of classes on Kabbalah.com.
Okay.
And basically, when you're living a rich life internally, you're living a rich life externally. And so what I teach really are the principles of Kabbalah, and I just relate them to our everyday existence, our everyday life. For me, I'm a very practical, bottom line person, as you can probably tell by now. Very direct, get to the bottom line. I don't have patience for a lot of fluff and stuff like that. And that's the way I teach. So, what tools I teach people, tools and understandings and teachings and wisdom that a person can practically apply in their life to have a shift in their consciousness. Because it doesn't matter what's really happening externally, what's really happening and what creates the quality of a person's life is how that we're living internally. For example, and you may know people like this. I know this woman who's very rich financially, has day servants in the day, and the second has servants in the evening, lives like one of the most expensive pieces of real estate in Florida, and gets up every morning and counts the avocados to make sure none of the staff stole her avocados. Now, do you think this woman is living a rich life? No. So it doesn't matter that she's like a starving person at a banquet. And most of us live our lives as starving at the banquet. And so the Prosperity Principles, as one of the many, many classes, many series on Kabbalah.com, gives, according to people's interests. We have a whole thing of astrology. My God, we have astrology.kabbalah.com, and we're now coming in the next couple of months, youth.kabbalah.com. We have a whole division for children to learn these principles, because the one thing that everybody says is, I wish I would have learned this as a child. Imagine where I would be today. So we give children tools of spiritual self-empowerment because they need it more than anything these days, when we are being bombarded with so many negative narratives, so many fear-based narratives that is just tearing people apart. And the most vulnerable of us all are the children. They have like no spiritual tools to say, hey, no. I mean, why should I not do drugs? Why is it not great to smoke? Why? For the teens, we have a whole course based on the question, why?
Oh, wow.
Why do things happen? Why am I annoyed? Why is this, do I get depressed? Why? We have to, that's what the essence of Kabbalah answers, the why questions. The religion, most of it is the how questions, how to do this, and you're not doing this, you're going to hell, you're going to. that's not the Kabbalistic paradigm. It works for some people. I'm not, there's a reason for the existence of everything in this world.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, for me, that doesn't work for me. But for other people it might work. But what works for me is, and I'm a very curious person. I want to know why. When I understand why, I'd be happy to do it.
Absolutely.
But if I don't understand why, and you're shoving these rules, trying to shove them down my throat, and you want me to obey, no.
I think most teenagers these days want to know why. The first thing, when you ask a teenager not to do things, the first thing they respond, why? Why not?
Exactly. And parents many times don't even have the answer.
No.
Timmy, share your crayons with Johnny.
Why?
No, Mom, I'm not going to. Why not? Because Johnny didn't share with me yesterday. So I'm not going to share with him today. What is a parent going to say? If they don't know Kabbalistically why it would be good to share with in the first place, has nothing to do with Johnny. Timmy, has to do with you, Timmy, not with Johnny. Johnny's your opportunity to share.
Absolutely. No,
you don't learn that. How can you teach it to your children?
Absolutely. I have to, before I get to my final question, because I just looked at the time, and how do we, you suffered with the COVID and that impacted you massively. And you said you learned you saw things in a different way. If you're to look back at the pandemic, what lessons did you learn, and how did the Kabbalah teaching?
Well, first of all, COVID killed me. I actually died. I went to the other side and had a whole life-changing, shifting paradigm. That's for another time. But for COVID, for the rest of the world, it's a wake-up call. First of all, so many people, it was that timeout that I talked about earlier, like being quiet and, giving yourself an opportunity to observe. I know many, many people that actually guiltily, because the way COVID was framed, and who knows what the dark political agenda behind it anyway in the first place, but it's another story. But even so, even with all that, I know so many people who benefited from the experience, as I myself have. I mean, it was a horrific experience to stop breathing. Never want to really have that experience again, because I couldn't breathe. I was drowning in my own the fluid in my lungs. So I never want to have that experience again. That was horrific. However, going to the trip I went on, OMG, that was incredible. Discussion for another time. But I'd say for what we're going through right now for all of us in the world, whether, with COVID and then the other narratives that are being pushed on us, this, like, you feel it, I don't know about the UK, but in America, there's this like attempt to pressure everyone to go to war and try to pull countries into war, and, and all of this kind of stuff. All of this is a wake-up call for humanity. It's a time to say enough, stop. What? No, I'm not following this narrative anymore. No, I'm looking within. What's the meaning of my life? And eventually, the more that we go through, it's going to get darker before the light comes, let's say. And the purpose of that is to wake more people up to stop looking outward for answers and look within. Activate the godlike nature within you, with all of us. Because nothing at this point, we're so damaged in so many ways, economically, spiritually, relationship wise, people so confused about, and we get so many confusing misinformations, everything. And it's all designed for one reason, for more people to wake up and understand that nothing of a physical nature, a logical physical nature, is going to get us out of this. Nothing. The more people that turn within, that turn to the creative force, and whatever that means for you, and reach beyond logic, override logic of the five senses, and say, God help me, God help us. Speak to me, I'm here, show me, give me answers, etc. Ask and it is given. Ask and it is given. So the more people that turn away from logic and more into their spirituality, the faster we will achieve, I think, what this whole period of time is really all about.
My final question, Batya, before I let you go, you have a beautiful circle of family, you have wonderful kids, you even mentioned your children, and everyone looks up to that kind of life, having those wonderful family circle of friends. How would you create joy and happiness in your own circle? How do you do this so other people could learn from you as well?
Be the cause. Just be the cause. Initiate. Don't wait for someone to invite you out to dinner. Make a phone call, invite them out to dinner. Don't wait for someone to ask you how you feel. Make that phone call or go over there and ask them how they feel. Go out of your way to be a benefit, to add value to someone else's life, whether it's a smile or giving charity or volunteering or just being more interested in being a contribution to other people, and stop worrying about what you're going to get in return. Because that's the hook from the dark side. What am I going to get in return? Don't worry, you're handled. The creator's got you. I mean, if you stop and you really think about it, the fact that we have been able to have this conversation and the world didn't fall apart and we're still healthy enough to continue, that's a miracle.
That's true.
You get from one point to another, point A to point B, it's a miracle. Food somehow shows up on your table. Customers somehow show up in your business. Money shows up somehow, some way for you. People, strangers show up for you. All of these are miracles. It shows you that there's so much more going on, and a whole world of infinite possibilities await us. But you've got to take the first step. Not wait for an invitation. If you're waiting for an invitation, here it is. You're invited. Now, pay it forward. Pay it forward. Kindness, pick up a book, go to Kabbalah.com. By the way, you can get free books on Kabbalah.com. Did you know that?
No.
Go to Kabbalah, giving.kabbalah.com, and you can get a free book of Kabbalah. That's and go on the site, and all the articles are free. Yes, you got to pay for the membership, you got to pay to watch me, but honey, I'm worth it. So you'll find a lot of benefit from it, I guarantee you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you. I learned a lot, and it's changed my whole perspective of things. In this just 1 hour conversation, I've learned the value of our spirituality and the value of just us. Us is what I take from this. Is us. It's not you and I. It's us together.
Us.
Oh,
Yes.
that's like, this is beautiful.
Not us and them. It's
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
There is no them, because whoever you're hating on in this lifetime, you're going to be them in next lifetime. And I don't really want to set myself up for that. So that really makes me think twice before I judge or do anything worse than that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I really do.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Wow.